All right, today we are going over Folsom versus Rocklin. These are two communities my clients are often choosing between. They're amazing places to live. It's a Highway 50 versus Highway 80 showdown, and I'm gonna compare these two communities via 8 critical criteria so you can decide which one's right for your family. Starting with criteria number 1, which is the community vibe or feel. All right, let's start off community vibe or feel here with where these two places are located, because they're a little bit far apart, only about a half an hour, 35-minute drive across the middle. But Folsom is on Highway 50 and Rocklin is on Highway 80 and Highway 65, which we'll talk about later. That means if you live in Folsom, you're primarily going to use Highway 50 to go to the capital, Sacramento, or go to the Bay Area, or to go up to Tahoe, and you're going to hit Tahoe at South Lake Tahoe. Now, if you're on the 80 side in Rocklin, you're going to use Highway 65 to get to Highway 80 and then Highway 80 to get into the capital or off to the Bay Area, and you're going to use Highway 80 to access Tahoe, but you're going to access Tahoe in the Tahoe Donner, Truckee area of the west side of Lake Tahoe. These are two very different parts of Tahoe. Now, everybody has their favorite ski resorts. Everybody has their favorite side of the lake in the summer. So this could be a criteria for your family right off the bat. Do you prefer to go to South Lake Tahoe or do you prefer to go to Truckee? If you're South Lake Tahoe people, then Folsom's gonna be your jam. If you're Truckee people, then Rocklin is gonna be your jam. And when it comes to the overall community vibe and feel, they're gonna be very similar. They're similar in size and population. They're similar locations, but Rocklin is gonna be just one bump further out with a little less shopping, little less resources. Folsom is gonna have sort of everything you want right there in town, a little more access to everything. But in general, they're both suburban communities, both built out via housing complexes with builder, new construction based housing and neighborhoods structured in that way. So if you were to drive through a Folsom neighborhood or a Rocklin neighborhood, they're gonna feel very, very much the same. Criteria number 2, when comparing Rocklin to Folsom, has to be housing costs. Look, you are moving to these areas, you're probably thinking about buying a house, if not now, at some point in the near future, and everybody wants to know, what's it gonna cost me to buy a home in these two communities? Now, they are relatively close, but here Folsom is gonna be a little bit more expensive with a median home price of $771,000 as of the recording of this video in the fall of 2024, and Rocklin a little bit less with a median home price of $715,000 here in the fall of 2024. Now, what's interesting about this and what makes them such an easy comparison is that you're gonna get about the same house in both places. The median home in both places is about a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home, 2,000 to 2,500 square feet on around 0.16, 0.17 of an acre, built in the late 90s to the early 2000s in pretty good shape. You might want to do a little updating, but you won't necessarily need to do any. All of these houses will be pretty much move-in ready. So at a 1-to-1 comparison, Folsom is going to cost you a little bit more at the median at the $771,000. Now, when it comes to access to new construction, Folsom is going to get the win there, and the new construction landscape has a lot of different price points to it, so you may be able to find some deals in the new construction industry in Folsom that you might not find in Rocklin, and that's because in general, Rocklin is mostly built out. There's still some new building going on there, but it is slowing considerably in Folsom with the Folsom Ranch development has a ton of new units, tens of thousands of new units coming online over the next couple of decades here. And so with all those new units comes a lot more access to new construction. So if a brand new home and new construction is something that's important to your family, then Folsom would get the win there when it comes to housing. When it comes to cost, they're pretty close together, but Folsom's gonna be that one bump more expensive. Look, right about now in this video, you're wondering maybe who I am and why you should be listening to me about Folsom, Rocklin, real estate, or anything at all really, and that's a pretty fair question. My name is Rich Curtis. I'm with eXp Realty, and I've been selling homes in this area for nearly 20 years now, in markets ranging from the Great Recession to the COVID market insanity and everything in between. So when it comes to Sacramento County, Placer County, El Dorado County real estate, I've got you covered. My goal with this channel is to help you make the highest quality real estate decisions you can from the comfort of your couch. So to that end, let's jump right back in with criteria number 3 and continue comparing these two amazing communities of Folsom and Rocklin Rocklin so you can decide which one's best for your family. Criteria number 3 to compare these two communities comes down to population and size. And in this category, they are relatively similar, with Rocklin having just shy of 20 square miles of land to it and Folsom having around 30 square miles of land to it. Rocklin coming in around 73,000 people in population and Folsom coming in around 86,000 people in population. So Folsom's just a little bit bigger than Rocklin in this regard. But in the feel of it, when you're driving around town, when you're spending time in town, in my opinion, Folsom feels like a much bigger place. Rocklin feels more like a small town. Now, when you live in Rocklin, you spend a lot of your time accessing things that are available to you in Roseville. When you combine Rocklin with Roseville, the largest city in Placer County, then the whole place does feel a little bit big. But if you're just puttering around doing your daily activities in Rocklin, it's gonna feel like a smaller, slightly slower pace of life place to live than is Folsom. Folsom has a little bit of a big town feel, even though it's a small town. That's because there's that little bit more population there running around doing things, and you have some really big shopping centers there, like the Palladio, and there's just a lot going on. So even though they are relatively close together in terms of population and land size, with Folsom being a little bit larger, I would say that Folsom feels more large than it actually is in your day-to-day life. So if a more fast-paced, lots going on environment is what you're looking for, Folsom might be the one for your family. And if a little bit slower pace of life, slightly smaller town feel, but by no means small town. If you're looking for small town, check out some of my videos on Placerville. But slightly smaller town feel, then Rocklin might be your jam. Hey, I've noticed that 96% of you watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. Now look, if you're getting anything out of these videos, just take a second for me, hit the like button, click subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss another video with crucial information to help you with your relocation plans. Subscribing is free, you can unclick at any time, and it really helps the channel. All right, now back to comparing Folsom to Rocklin. Criteria number 4 when comparing these two communities is traffic. This is a big one for me. I absolutely hate traffic. I live in a more rural area of the county because I hate traffic. So when it comes to both of these places, traffic is going to be a daily part of your life. But in this regard, I would say Rocklin is going to have a bigger traffic problem than Folsom. So Rocklin is off of Highway 80, but a big chunk of it accesses 80 via Highway 65, especially if you're way up in Rocklin towards the Lincoln end up in Whitney Oaks. You are going to have to use Highway 65 to get down to Highway 80 to go do anything down in Sacramento, and that might include work. If you work in even Roseville or in Sacramento, we'll talk more about work during our employment criteria, you're going to spend a lot of time on Highway 65 and Highway 80. And 65 has always kind of been an impacted highway. They never made it big enough for the amount of people that wanted to live out there because it's such a great place to live. And especially with Lincoln, one bump out beyond Rocklin, growing and building out, that's put a lot more pressure on Highway 65. Now they are working on it, they are widening it, but in my opinion, it just isn't enough. So if you're living in Rocklin, Highway 65 traffic is going to be a big part of your life, and Highway 80 traffic as well. Now, Folsom being on Highway 50 and being just on the county line between Sacramento County and El Dorado County. To put that into perspective, by the way, Rocklin is in Placer County, if you're not a local and don't know that. It's just right on the county edge there, and the traffic pattern tends to break up just as you start going up the hill from Folsom to El Dorado Hills, as long as it's not a Friday during the ski season. But other than that, Folsom traffic's going to be a lot lighter than the Rocklin traffic. Similarly, taking Highway 50 down into the capital or Sacramento for work is going to be lighter than taking the 65 to 80 path down into the capital for work from Rocklin. Now, city streets traffic-wise, Folsom has more population. East Bidwell being sort of the primary artery you're going to use getting in and out to the neighborhood schools and shopping in Folsom. Sort of overland city street travel in Folsom can be quite impacted as well. So maybe your day-to-day traffic on the surface streets is going to be worse in Folsom, but your freeway traffic and your commute traffic is going to be far worse, in my opinion, up in the Rocklin area. Either place, traffic's going to be a part of your life, but I think Folsom gets the win here. Now, as a caveat, if you're, a lot of our relocation clients are coming from the San Francisco Bay Area or LA, if you're one of those people, this just isn't going to feel like that kind of traffic to you. This is not getting through LA at peak commute time traffic. This is 15 to 30 minute delays kind of traffic, maybe more akin to sort of South Bay, South San Jose type traffic, not San Francisco peak commute time or LA peak commute time traffic. It's nothing like that. So for those of you relocating from those areas, it's not going to feel too bad. But if you're relocating from some more outlying suburban areas or rural areas, then this might be more traffic than you're used to or more traffic than you want. So if you don't like traffic, then maybe neither of these communities is for you, but Folsom will be a bit better in this regard. Criteria number 5 when comparing these two communities comes down to schools. And I won't bury the lead here. Both communities have excellent schools. They're both known for having great schools. They both have schools that are above the state average in terms of scoring, and so you are not going to go wrong in either community when it comes to schools. Now, if you go to greatschools.org and start poking around doing your research, you will find that Folsom schools are going to be 1 to 2 bumps better scoring on greatschools.org. So if you really care about the school scores and you want to get really granular with it, Folsom might get a slight win here, but really you're going to do fine in either community, and I wouldn't let the schools be that big of a deciding factor because I think you're going to be happy either way. Now, when it comes to access to new schools, then Folsom is going to get the win there because they do have the Folsom Ranch subdivision being built out, and that is going to have a bunch of new schools coming online. 5 elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school all being built out in Folsom Ranch. 2 to 3 of them are just nearing completion as of the time of the recording of this video in the fall of 2024. So if access to new schools is something your family really wants, or if that combines with your desire for access to new homes, then Folsom would get the win there for you. But in the existing traditional school landscape, both of these communities are going to be excellent. Again, you can check their scores on greatschools.org, but I think you're going to be very pleased with either one. Hey, if by the end of this video you still aren't sure if Rocklin's right for you or Folsom's right for you, or you want to check out some of the other communities and you want some information or some help with that, feel free to reach out to me via the contact information on your screen or in the description down below. Like I said, I've been selling homes here for nearly 20 years. I've helped hundreds of families just like yours decide where to land in Sacramento, Placer, and El Dorado counties, and I'm always happy to help. Criteria number 6 when comparing these two communities is the cost of living. And largely the cost of living in these two communities is going to be about the same. It's going to come down to home prices, which we talked about earlier, and utility prices, and there is a significant difference there. So let's get right into it. As we said, Folsom's going to run about a median home price of $771,000, and Rocklin is going to run about $715,000. Now, if you purchased right at the medians in both of those communities, then Folsom is going to cost you a little more in terms of insurance because it's more expensive to insure a more expensive home, and taxes because your property taxes are higher on a more expensive home. That being said, you could very easily spend $771,000 on a home in Rocklin or $715,000 on a home in Folsom. They're so close together and they're both within a reasonable range of each other that when it comes to home prices, taxes, and insurance, it's really going to come down to a personal decision of how much home you buy. And if you're sensitive to the median home price, then you're probably going to choose a different community, say Roseville at $652,000 median home price, which is a relative bargain, or going down into some communities in Sacramento where the median home price median home price for the whole Sacramento region is around $516,000. Once you've taken it this far above the $516,000 median for the whole area into the mid to low 700s, it's really going to come down to your personal decisions which community is going to cost you more. But when it comes to utilities, there is no doubt that Rocklin is going to cost you more. Rocklin, unfortunately, is on PG&E. PG&E is the state's most expensive power, also subject to those sort of public safety power shutdowns, rolling blackouts and brownouts kind of business. Now, Folsom is on SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utilities District. It's an incredibly stable grid. It doesn't have the public safety power shutdowns. It doesn't have the rolling brownouts and blackouts issue, and it runs nearly half the cost of PG&E. So look, we're talking about homes that are large here, 2,000 to 2,500 square feet at the median, and we're talking about areas that are hot, like 90s most of the summer and triple digits for a big chunk of it, which means you're going to be running the air conditioning a lot, which means the cost of utilities plays a big role in your monthly budget. So when it comes to cost of living, Almost everything's the same, but you will pay a lot more for your power in Rocklin than you will in Folsom. Now, there may be a little additional cost in Rocklin for gas for your cars because you are that one bump further out and it is a little bit longer commute to places, maybe spend more time in the car. So you may have a little additional fuel cost there, but really this is gonna come down to that utility cost. If you're heating and cooling a large home, then Folsom's gonna get the win far and away being on SMUD power. I am a little biased on this because I am on PG&E power and I'm real salty about it. I really wish I had access to SMUD power and SMUD rates where I live. Criteria number 7 comes down to recreation. Now, when it comes to recreation, both communities have great access to recreation. It's just kind of a different kind of recreation. When it comes to parks, Folsom's gonna get the win here, like parks to take your kids to play at, with Rocklin having about 37 developed parks and Folsom having 48. Folsom also has a lot more bike trails with 50 miles of Class 1 bike trails, the majority of them being paved trails that are wheelchair and stroller accessible that take the neighborhoods and connect them to the parks and the schools and the shopping and make it just a really great place to hop on a bike and get out and do stuff. So when it comes to that kind of recreation, Folsom gets the win there. Folsom also has access to Folsom Lake, which is your big power boating lake where you're gonna do your wakeboarding, water skiing, that kind of thing, jet skiing. And then it also has the smaller lake, Lake Natoma, which has a 5-mile speed limit, which effectively makes it, for the most part, non-motorized boating, where you can do your paddleboarding, canoeing, sailboats, rowing sculls, that kind of thing in a really beautiful lake that goes right up the river canyon. So that is the recreation style in Folsom. It's more of an outdoor recreation and maybe adventure-based recreation style. Now, Rocklin is no slouch in the parks department. Included in those 37 parks are really unique, amazing places like Johnson Springview Park, where they have a hockey rink, and Quarry Park, where they have the amazing zip lines and everything. If you haven't checked that out, you should really watch some videos on Quarry Park and Rocklin. It's really, really cool. So there are some neat, unique parks to experience in Rocklin. But where Rocklin absolutely gets the win are for my golfers that are watching here. Now, full disclosure, I'm not a golfer. I'm an outdoor adventure sports guy. I'm the paddle boarding, whitewater rafting, rock climbing, that kind of stuff. That's what I'm into. I don't golf. Big chunk of my family golfs though, and a lot of my clients golf, and far and away, my golfer clients, the ones that are just absolutely bananas about the sport, they choose Rocklin every time. It's kind of a golf paradise with 34 golf courses within a 20-minute drive of Rocklin, and one of the local favorites being the Whitney Oaks golf course. It really is a great community to live in if you're an avid golfer. So if you're a golfer, hands down, Rocklin's gonna get the win. If you're into more outdoor or outdoor adventure-based recreation, then Folsom might get the win for you. Folsom has more of that family-style recreation versus Rocklin has more of that golf-style recreation. So that may make the decision for your family. Criteria number 8, and a very important one, the last criteria on our list here, is going to be employment. Now look, both communities have access to a very robust job market. The Sacramento region actually has an incredibly diverse and robust job market. It's one of the things that makes it such a great place to live. So both communities are gonna have access to the capital, where you're gonna have state jobs, political jobs, lots of retail jobs. All of that down in Sacramento is accessible to people from both communities, Rocklin and Folsom, with maybe a little bit longer commute from Rocklin than from Folsom, but they have access to that. Now, when it comes down to working in the community that you live in, Folsom's gonna get the win there. Rocklin doesn't have as much major industry. The closest to them might be going down to Kaiser in Roseville. For Folsom, they have Intel right there in Folsom, and they also have the Palladio and a lot of retail jobs in Folsom. And they actually have a fair bit of medical infrastructure in Folsom with a few hospitals, several surgery centers, and all the sort of related medical offices to support that. So in Folsom, you've got a much better choice when it comes to living and working in the same community. If it comes down to you're willing to put in about a half an hour, 40-minute commute, then both communities have access to the tremendous diverse job market of the Sacramento region. So this comes down to, do you want to work in the community that you live in? And if you're in healthcare, tech, or even education, you're gonna have some more options to work in the community you live in Folsom than you will in Rocklin. If you're gonna do the commute, both of them are gonna line up about the same on this one. All right, that wraps up our discussion of Folsom versus Rocklin, California. As you can see, these are both amazing communities. I really love them both and have had clients pick both of them over the years and be very, very happy with their choices. I hope this information has helped you decide which one might be the right choice for your family. Now, if you're still undecided or you want to go a little deeper into either one, you can click this video right here for the pros and cons of living in Folsom, California. Or you can click this video right here for the pros and cons of living in Rocklin, California. And if you want to see some of the other local towns and suburbs compared in a head-to-head battle just like this one, you can click this playlist right down here for my town versus town comparison videos, including Roseville versus Folsom, Roseville versus Rocklin, so you can really drill down deep and figure out which community is best for your family. All right, as always, thank you for watching. Thanks for making it to the end with me, and I'll see you on the next one.